Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka and with me is R.S. Raghu, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India court sanction for procurement of 150,000 units of Oxycare system through PM Care Fund developed by the DRDO. COVID-19 cases showing decline trends in India. US approves Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for people between 12 and 15 years of age. Exchange of fire between Palestinian militants and Israeli military escalates. Death toll on both sides rises to 59. UN chief and other world leaders call for restraint. Nepal president calls upon political parties to form a coalition government by tomorrow. And United Nations predicts India to be world's fastest growing major economy in 2022. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners to take all precautions and all those above 18 years of age to get vaccinated without any hesitation. The vaccination for persons between the age of 18 and 44 years has begun at designated facilities. Stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in details. The PM Cares Fund has accorded sanction for procurement of 150,000 units of Oxycare system developed by the Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO at a cost of over 322 crore rupees. Oxycare is a SpO2-based oxygen supply system which regulates the oxygen being administered to patients based on the sensed SpO2 levels. Under this sanction, 1 lakh manual and 50,000 automatic Oxycare systems along with non-rebreather masks are being procured. The Oxycare system delivers supplemental oxygen based on the SpO2 levels and prevents the person from sinking into a state of hypoxia, which can be fatal. This system was developed by the Defence Bioengineering and Electromedical Laboratory, DRDO, Bengaluru, for soldiers posted at extreme high altitude areas. The system is indigenously developed for operation in field conditions and is robust. It can be effectively used to treat COVID-19 patients. The automatic system also provides suitable audio warning for various failure scenarios, including low SpO2 values and probe disconnections. The non-breathable masks are integrated with the Oxycare system for efficient use of oxygen, which results in saving of oxygen by 30 to 40%. Amid the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic, India is registering declining trends in the number of active COVID cases. However, several states and union territories are still registering a high number of cases. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry of India on Wednesday said that the active cases comprise 15.86% of the cumulative positive cases. It said there are over 37 lakh active cases in the country at present. As the country is registering over 3 lakh recoveries daily from the past many days, the recovery rate has further improved to 83.04%. The Health Ministry has said over 3,55,000 patients have recovered from this infectious disease within 24 hours. So far, over 1,93 lakh patients have already recovered from this disease. The country has registered over 3,48,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry has said a total of 4,205 deaths were reported in the country within 24 hours, taking the toll to over 2,54,000 across the country. This is the highest number of deaths in a single day since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Meanwhile, the Indian Council of Medical Research has informed that over 19,83,000 COVID tests were conducted within 24 hours in the country. So far, over 30 crore 75 lakh tests have been conducted.
US has approved Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for people between 12 and 15 years of age, making it first for children. US Food and Drug Administration FDA expanded emergency use authorization for the Pfizer shot to include youths aged between 12 to 15. Shots could begin as soon as tomorrow, after a Federal Vaccine Advisory Committee issues recommendations for using the 2-dose vaccine in 12 to 15-year-olds. An announcement in this regard is expected today. US President Joe Biden said the decision marked another important step in the nation's march back to regular life. The light at the end of the tunnel is growing, and today it got a little brighter, he added. Most COVID-19 vaccines worldwide have been authorized for adults. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion with Shri Giridhar Aramane, Secretary Additional Charge, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade and convener of Empowered Group of Secretaries on making arrangements to ensure oxygen supply during COVID-19 pandemic.
COVID-19 pandemic has been a major challenge for the country. The spread of coronavirus and its impact on the patient has emerged as a public health hazard which has created a burden on the health infrastructure. In the recent past, the oxygen supplies have been a cause of concern. However, the center has acted in a proactive manner with whole of the government approach to ensure that supplies are not only being maintained but augmented to provide relief to the COVID patients across the country. Sir, my first question is, amid the second wave of coronavirus crisis, what initiative have been taken by the government to effectively deal with the present COVID-19 situation?
Government has taken a holistic view of entire operation. They have taken as a mission mode. This is a humanitarian crisis. So we have to combine our compassion with efficiency and the resources, both financial and material. So government realized early in the pandemic, early February, March last year, that the entire government has to be involved in this effort and no effort shall be spared to ensure that every COVID patient gets the treatment they properly deserve. From the beginning, from highest level to the junior most level, every official, every leader of Government of India have been involved in this exercise of ensuring efficient supply of COVID-related supplies to the patients. Mainly, I will outline the efforts being made in making available the medical supplies to the public. We started with the masks, the protective equipment, PPEs, then the ventilators. The entire world was in the grip of a pandemic. We realized early during February, March last year that we need to improve the capacity within India. So our journey started from there. We made it a great success. We could overcome the first wave very successfully. Now we are entering into the second wave, which is almost has reached the peak and plateauing out. To ensure that this does not affect large number of people, various state governments, central government have taken several steps. So those include ensuring that whatever medicine, whatever equipment is required by the hospitals to ensure that the patients get treatment have been made available without any delay. There are some logistical issues here and there, but overall our effort has been not to spare any effort. However costly an item may be, however far they are located, we are trying to get them to the hospitals as soon as possible in as much quantity as required.
Sir, supplies of oxygen, medical equipment and medicines have become a crucial element in the fight against COVID-19. For the smooth supplies of these crucial materials, what list of measures have been taken by the government so far?
Firstly, government told the empowered groups formed this purpose that you must make every effort. You should not spare any effort to ensure that all these are obtained, whether within the country or from outside the country. Government relaxed the general financial rules and said that procure them, whatever the price may be, and don't impose procedural formalities on the suppliers which will drive them away. So the procedures have been waived, the financial rules have been waived, and the empowered groups have been given a free hand to get the material which is required for the treatment of the COVID patients. That was the first step. Second, an expert body under eminent medical expert, Dr. Vinod Pal, was formed to ensure that the other departments are guided in their efforts to procure the medical supplies. These experts decided what are the needs of the hospitals, what are the needs of the patients, and then efforts to procure these material, equipment, drugs started in a major way. This expert panel keeps on guiding other groups in assessing the requirements, assessing the shortfall, if any, and how to make good is decided in a collective fashion in the meetings of these empowered groups. These groups meet every day or almost every alternate day and identify which are the items which need to be immediately supplied for the treatment of the patients. For example, at one time the priority was ventilators. Then the priority started shifting to the oxygen. Early August, September last year, the requirement of oxygen started shooting up. Then government said that procure more than 1 lakh of cylinders, distribute them. Then government also said that increase the production of oxygen so that it will be available in case there is a surge in the number of patients. Similarly, Prime Minister sanctioned 162 PSA plants at hospital level to ensure supply to the patients the liquid medical oxygen they require in case of the respiratory trouble. Like this, the evolving needs of the patients have been kept track of by the expert panel, and the other panel which looks after the procurement has been acting on the directions of the experts to ensure that the supplies are obtained in time and then given to the hospitals for the use of the medical personnel there. This has been the constant effort of Government of India, and there were very hectic days when several hundreds of offers were received from the suppliers. They were analyzed, they were discussed, and ensured that a decision is taken upon them to ensure that the supplies are made very quickly.
The Prime Minister Office and Cabinet Secretary are continuously keeping a close eye on the preparedness of the country to effectively fight with the COVID-19 pandemic. As a part of the Inter-Ministerial Empowered Group, can you tell us about the short, mid and long-term targets set by the government to ease the supply of oxygen in the country?
We have identified, with the help of the expert panel and under the guidance of Honorable Prime Minister and other cabinet ministers, that we need to have a weekly kind of a target to ensure that we are able to reach the necessary medical supplies to the patient. For example, we need to improve the logistics of oxygen supply to the states and to the hospitals in the short term, so that the turnaround time of the tankers is reduced. So for that, our Cabinet Secretary and Honorable Prime Minister permitted us to use the Indian Air Force. So we are now transporting the empty tankers on Air Force and bringing them back in full on railways. So the short-term target has been to improve the logistics of oxygen transport and also not to waste any oxygen unnecessarily at the plant level. Whatever maximum liquid medical oxygen can be produced at a steel plant, we are able to produce that now. That's the short-term goal. Maximize the supply and availability of oxygen at the hospital level. Medium-term goal is quickly establish the PSA plants sanctioned under the Prime Minister Cares Fund and ensure that these are installed and commissioned so that in the medium term, even in case of a third wave, we are ready with the necessary oxygen supply at the hospital level. Long-term goal has been to ensure that every hospital in the country becomes self-sufficient in terms of the medical supplies. We have a program to supply ventilators. We have a program to supply the masks and PPEs. We have a program to supply cylinders. We are also establishing PSA plants. So in a way, our long-term goal has been making Indian health system very robust one. Health infrastructure in the country has to become so strong so that it is empowered to tackle any pandemic in future.
Sir, recently the first meeting of the 12-member National Task Force set up by the Supreme Court ensured the delivery of medical oxygen throughout the country has been held. You were also present in that meeting. Sir, what kind of specific suggestions have been provided by the members to further increase the oxygen production and its availability in the country?
The first meeting was conducted in which I was invited. This was an introductory round where the government apprised honorable members of the committee the efforts being made by government and sought their guidance how to improve the current procedure, current guidelines, etc. The committee members considered various aspects of the work being done, and they had a general appreciative view of the efforts being put in by the government. They were happy to note that several things which were on their mind to be suggested to government were in fact already being taken up in right earnest by government. They also felt happy the government has got a plan of action for medium term and short term. Of course, they also had several suggestions. These medical and logistic issues were discussed in comprehensive fashion, and I think they will take a few more meetings to come to some definite conclusions and to make firm recommendations to the government to implement.
Sir, my next question is the government in collaboration with industry partners working on alternative technologies to ramp up the production of medical oxygen in the country?
All the hospitals have to be made self-sufficient, especially the large ones in the metropolitan cities and Tier 1, Tier 2 cities. So, Honorable Prime Minister was kind enough to sanction 1,051 PSA plants out of the PM Cares Fund. So, to ensure that we got enough wherewithal within the country to manufacture these plants and supply to the hospitals, we started exploring manufacturers in our country. We could successfully rope in, with the help of DRDO, several such big companies. For example, Tata Advanced had volunteered to come forward and help us in manufacturing several of these machines. Further, L&T, EML also are participating in this manufacturing process. The technology for these machines is being given by DRDO. They have been mentoring, they have been hand-holding these organizations in the manufacture of these oxygen plants. We are also trying to bring in few other companies into this fold so that enough domestic capacity is created and the technology transfer takes place in a smooth fashion.
Sir, it is expected that around 10,000 oxygenated beds can be made available in a short period of time by making temporary hospitals near those plants which produce oxygen. What progress has been made in this direction so far?
Honorable Prime Minister had directed that even gaseous oxygen, wherever it is available, it shall be made use of, because in a shortage situation, we must explore all possible means of making oxygen available to the patient. So, several steel companies, petroleum refineries came forward to establish these facilities near their manufacturing sites. For example, in Hazira steel plant has set up already a field hospital in which 250 beds are functional and another 250 will be functional in a few days. In Bina, a 1,000-bedded hospital is coming up. Like that in Kochi, another big hospital, 1,000 to 2,000 beds is going to come up. So all the refineries and all the steel mills are going to set up such facilities to tackle the increasing number of the COVID patients. In total, around 12,500 beds will be created under this program, and they will be available along with the oxygen for the treatment of the COVID patients.
Sir, as the demand of oxygen concentrator and ventilators are on rise, what is the current status regarding oxygen concentrator and ventilator across the country?
Oxygen concentrators is not for the patients who are in the hospital. These are for mild to moderate patients who are under home isolation if their oxygen levels show some decline. But when you reach hospital, you need proper oxygen at proper purity. So oxygen concentrators are needed for preliminary support of the patients in the home quarantine or home isolation. So government is conscious of the fact that they are also in demand. Under PM CARES Fund, 1 lakh such oxygen concentrators are being procured and given to the hospitals so that they can be used for the benefit of the mild and moderate COVID patients.
Government of India has received several consignments of COVID-19 relief medical supplies from various countries. How are these essential materials being delivered across the country in a time-bound manner?
There is an efficient mechanism set up under NITI Aayog where such people who want to gift or donate material and equipment are being handheld. These people contact them as soon as they hear of the offer and coordinate their efforts to gift this equipment. They are tied up with the government institutions so that the deserving poor get benefit of such gifts. So there is a smooth process where these gifts are received and the beneficiary hospitals, especially the government, the public institutions as well as philanthropic institutions are identified and handed over. Before handing them over, quality, the standard of the equipment is also being tested so that the patients get the right type of equipment for their benefit.
Sir, it has been observed that the country is facing a shortage of drivers who can drive their cryogenic tankers to the destinations. What kinds of measures have been taken to fulfill the shortage of drivers?
Drivers are required because these tankers have to be driven very slow, 35 to 45 kilometers per hour. So there will be driver fatigue if he has to drive for 1,000, 1,500 kilometers. So we started a driver training program already for the trained heavy truck driver license drivers. So these people will be given a 7-day training program and then deployed to drive the oxygen tankers.
Thanks a lot, sir, for sparing your valuable time and sharing insight on the whole of government approach by the center to ensure oxygen supply in these testing times. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
The deadly exchange of fire between Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip and the Israeli military has escalated significantly. According to media reports, Israel carried out hundreds of air strikes in Gaza on Wednesday, and Palestinian militants fired multiple rocket barrages at Tel Aviv and the southern city of Beersheba. Israel said it killed 16 members of the Hamas military wing in a Gaza airstrike on Wednesday, and Palestinian militants rained rockets into Israel as global concern mounted over their most intense hostilities in years. According to the enclave's health ministry, at least 53 people have been killed in Gaza since violence escalated on Monday. 6 people have been killed in Israel, medical officials said. An Indian woman was also killed in a rocket attack in the Israeli city of Ashkelon yesterday. She was identified as Soumya, a native of Kanjikuri Panchayat in Kerala's Idukki district. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz said attacks on Palestinian militant groups in Gaza would continue until they bring total long-term quiet, and that such military action would preclude any ceasefire agreement. The international community has urged both sides to end the escalation amid concerns it could spiral out of control. The UN's Middle East peace envoy Tor Wennesland said the sides were escalating towards a full-scale war. UN Chief Antonio Guterres has expressed grave concern at escalating violence in the Middle East after airstrikes and days of clashes between Palestinian protesters and Israeli police. In a statement, the UN Secretary General said he is deeply saddened to learn of increasingly large number of casualties, including children, from Israeli airstrikes in Gaza and of Israeli fatalities from rockets launched from Gaza. He said the United Nations was working with all relevant parties to de-escalate the situation urgently. The United States and European Union have also called for a de-escalation of violence in the region. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson also called for Israel and Palestinians to step back from the brink and for both sides to show restraint. Israel's military said it is targeting militants in Gaza in response to earlier rocket attacks. Palestinian militants said they fired 130 missiles at the Israeli city of Tel Aviv after an Israeli airstrike felled a tower block in the Gaza Strip. At least 30 people have died in some of the worst violence in years. Militants from Gaza had already fired more than 400 rockets since Monday night, killing 2 Israelis.
Nepal President Bidya Devi Bhandari has called upon political parties to form a coalition government in the Himalayan nation by tomorrow. The move comes after Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli lost a vote of confidence in Parliament and no political party commands a majority in the House. The Oli government sought the vote of confidence on Monday after the Communist Party of Nepal Maoist Centre withdrew its support. Out of 232 lawmakers present in the House of Representatives, 93 votes were cast in favour of Oli, while 124 votes were cast against him. As many as 15 lawmakers stayed neutral. Oli needed 136 votes to win the vote of confidence in the 271 House of Representatives. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Welcome back to the world news. In Afghanistan, Taliban has taken control of a district in Wardak province near the capital, Kabul. This happened a day before a 3-day ceasefire is due to begin. A 3-day ceasefire coinciding with the Muslim festival Eid is set to begin on Thursday. Wardak Province Governor Abdul Rahman Tariq confirmed that the district had been captured. He said Afghan troops had tactically retreated from the district. China on Wednesday defended its Bangladesh ambassador's warning to Dhaka against joining the US-led Quad alliance, saying the envoy has made the country's position clear on the issue. Bangladesh Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen on Tuesday chided China's ambassador in Dhaka for his provocative and controversial remarks and warning of substantial damage to relations if the Bangladesh were to join the US-led Quad alliance. Mr. Momen described the remarks as very unfortunate and aggressive. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying avoided commenting on Mr. Momen's statement, saying that she has not seen the remarks.
Bangladesh has conducted the first test run for metro train in Dhaka. The test run of the first electrical metro train in Bangladesh was conducted on Tuesday in Dhaka. Road Transport and Bridges Minister Abdul Qadir inaugurated the metro rail test run virtually. 6 coaches of the metro train imported from Japan left the workshop inside the metro rail workshop in Diabari in Dhaka to travel about 500 meters at slow speed. Speaking on the occasion, Minister Abdul Qadir said that metro rail is no more a dream, it is a reality now. United Nations has said that India will be the world's fastest growing major economy in 2022. In its mid-year update of the World Economic Situation and Prospects, WESP, United Nations projected that the Indian economy will grow at 10.1% in the calendar year 2022. China has been projected to grow at 5.8%, a slowdown from 8.2% in the year 2021.
In Germany, regulators yesterday told social media site Facebook to stop processing user data from its instant messaging service WhatsApp, arguing that the messaging app's controversial new terms of service are illegal under European privacy law. Johannes Kasper, Data Protection Commissioner in Hamburg, the city where Facebook has its German headquarters, issued an order banning the social media giant from processing German users' WhatsApp data for 3 months. Now let's take a look at the business report around the world.
The Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange declined 471 points or 1% to close at 48,691. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange slipped 154 points or 1% to 14,697. In global equity markets, Asia Pacific ended mixed. Japan's Nikkei 225 index declined 1.6%. Singapore's Straits Times index fell 0.8% and South Korea's Kospi index dropped 1.5%. But China's Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.6% and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index advanced 0.8%. In Europe, London's FTSE 100 had risen 0.6%, Germany's DAX had moved up 0.1%, but France's CAC 40 had shed 0.1% in intraday trade. In the international market, global crude oil prices rose today on signs of a speedy economic recovery and upbeat forecasts for energy demand, supported by vaccinations against COVID-19, although waves of infections in India and Brazil curbed gains. So Brent crude futures climbed 47 cents to $69.02 a barrel. US crude futures rose 47 cents to $65.75 a barrel. Back home, gold lost 229 rupees to end at 47,074 rupees per 10 grams at Delhi's bullion market today. Silver declined 717 rupees to 70,807 rupees per kilo. In the international market, gold was trading lower at $1,832 per ounce. And at the forex market, the rupee weakened 8 paisa to 73 rupees and 42 paisa against the US dollar. Anubha Rohatgi for World News, All India Radio.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The New York Times writes, Israeli and Palestinian violence escalates to major crisis with dozens killed. The Washington Post also reports that death toll climbs, protests intensify as Israel and Gaza slip towards war. The paper also highlights the COVID situation in India, says Indian coronavirus variant has now spread to almost 50 countries, quoting WHO. Guardian writes PM Boris Johnson announces independent statutory inquiry into handling of coronavirus crises. The Financial Express quotes UK economy shrinks by only 1.5% in Q1 despite lockdown. Gulf Times reports that East Jerusalem hospital fills up after Al-Aqsa clashes. Paper also quotes UN chief urges Israel to cease demolitions and evictions. South China Morning Post quotes India envoy asks China to help stop price surging of COVID-19 supplies.
A quick look at the headlines once again. India accords sanction for procurement of 150,000 units of Oxycare system through PM Care Fund developed by the DRDO. COVID-19 cases showing declining trends in India. US approves Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for people between 12 and 15 years of age. Exchange of fire between Palestinian militants and Israeli military escalates. Death toll on both sides rise to 59. UN chief and other world leaders call for restraint. Nepal president calls upon political parties to form a coalition government by tomorrow. And United Nations predicts India to be world's fastest growing major economy in 2022. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav by artists from South Africa.
Vaishnav jan do tene kahiye je पीड़ पराई जाने रे पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये पर दुख के उपकार.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.